I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, actually Madison, Tennessee, and I grew up there. My dad was a hospital administrator, which meant we traveled wherever he was taking us to his work, and went to Georgia-Cumberland Academy for my high school and then on to Southern. I worked at summer camp for 7 years of my life, Cohutta Springs, and it was during that time that I realized that I had a business degree, but I wanted to be working with youth in some way, shape, or form. So I had a problem. I had a job in California, which in the business field, which was taking up my summer and my time. And I asked them, I said, would it be all right if I went back to work one more summer? And they let me go back to camp. And it was 2 weeks before camp ended that GCA was looking for an assistant chaplain amongst all the staff at camp. And long story short, they thought of me and I went and interviewed, and I 1 year did task force at GCA, and I called the lady and told her I wasn't coming back to California to work, which went fine. And it was during that year I knew that's what the Lord had been calling me into, and I realized it was full-time ministry. And I met with Stan Patterson, ministerial director at the time, and he hired me right there in his office, and he confirmed what was already happening in my mind. So that was kind of my call, and that was back in 2002. I started there at Greenville, Tennessee, at the church. I was the youth pastor, and while I was there is where I met my wife, Bridget, and she wasn't actually a member of the church then. She was coming back from Nashville, Tennessee, where she was working for the state of Tennessee in their budgeting office, and so she moved back to get her master's, and we met, and we were married in 2006, and then we stayed there for a few more years, a couple more years, and then the conference asked us to go to seminary, which we did, and I completed my master's at Andrews. And then as soon as we got back from Michigan, Madeline and Savannah were born back in Tennessee here, and we started pastoring Cartersville and Adairsville at the exact same time they were born. So that's where we are today.
When I met Chris, we married, and I was running a development authority up in Johnson City and had to tell my board that we were moving to Michigan. And the first thing they said was, can't you stay here and let him go up there if it's only for a few months, and kind of split the family. And that's when I knew that my career and what I had been doing on my own for the last several years was no longer mine, it was ours, and it wasn't no longer ours, it was God in our life. And at this point, I don't have the career that I thought I would always have, but it's better. Because now, because of the experience that I had in my younger days, I'm able to consult from home and do things in my field that I wouldn't have been able to do had I not had that past experience before I met Chris. So God's had exciting things in store for my life as I've entered into ministry with Chris, and we're excited to see what he does next with our lives together.
Favorite Bible verse of mine is Isaiah 41:10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God." And he says, "I will strengthen you and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." For me, that just tells me if there's anything I'm fearful, I don't know what to do, especially when I experienced a call to ministry and I didn't feel I had the education or was qualified. He can take away your fears, and he does that for us, raising children and moving to new churches and new places where you never know what to expect, but he always takes care of things. Ordination for me, as I think about the calling God has in my life, I've always felt God called me to ministry, so whether I was unordained or ordained, I was going to serve him no matter where. But it's a confirmation in my mind and in my life and with Bridget and my family that God's calling us to this full time for the rest of our lives. It's something I'm willing to embrace, and I know it's reassuring to see my peers and my colleagues, administration, affirming that with this special day. And whether I'm ordained or not, I'm always going to serve God in the way he calls me to. But this is just it's really neat to see how He affirms that here on earth and through the church. So it's real special to me and to my family.